The unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it. We can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. What I wanted to talk about today is remember Master Jiyu said it was a Russian proverb. Okay, if you look on the internet, there's some question about that. Some people say it's Irish and other people say it's Ukrainian. Who knows, really? But the proverb is that the church is near, but the road is icy. The tavern is far, but I will walk carefully. Okay. And it's funny. I mean, you can get print out pictures of the saying online. You get them with a bar in the background. You can even get T-shirts with it printed on. It's our modern world. I kind of want to preface my talk here with a piece of paper that I did bring. That's saying that this is not a prohibition talk, okay? I know people go to taverns, bars with friends, and have friends, and it can be a social time. And it's not for me to judge, it's just what people do is up to them, and I in no way want to judge. That's not kind of where my talk is going, okay? Because in fact, the church for me is a priory, a temple, a monastery, your sitting place at home, okay? And more than that, it's the temple of your own heart. Okay? It's your Buddha nature, which is always there for refuge. Okay? And the tavern, sometimes it's translated as bar, to me represents this is my greed, hate, and delusions. My cravings. Okay? That's what the tavern is. Okay, so if you can kind of keep that in mind when I'm talking about this. Okay, this saying also comes in the singular and it comes in the plural. Sometimes it's quoted as "we will walk carefully." If it's icy, that's probably a good idea. There's a group of people. Okay, and at this time of year when it's icy, we all know the difficulties and dangers of walking in the ice. Okay, whether it's near or far, you can slip and fall. Okay, and your feet go out from under you, and you bang your head, or worse. And of course, in a car, if you're driving in the ice, I had some terrible experiences as a young person living at Lake Tahoe. Skidding out, spinning. It's really scary. So one needs to be careful in the ice, snow and ice, no matter whether your journey is near or far. Okay. Did I get most of that then? Those first 2 pages. I think I covered most of it. Okay. So it's also an art to driving on icy roads. Okay. And personally, if I were impaired in some way, whatever it might be, I don't drive because of my vision. That's a clear impairment. That impaired judgment or something physically is not a good combination with ice on a road. It's dangerous. Okay? I can still remember as a young person, so we lived kind of up from the lake a little bit, and it was up this somewhat steep driveway. So I came down that one night in the snow, and the car just took over, and the best thing I could do was turn. I don't know, was he turn with it or against it, whatever it was, but I did the right thing, and it just spun all the way around, and it scared the pants off me. Okay. All right. Oh, that's interesting. Right, so the tavern, well, let me go back in this again. So the church for me, my priory, my temple, monastery, my sitting place. And more than these refuge places, the church is my own heart. As we say in our Vespers, the temple of our own heart and our Buddha nature, always there to take refuge in. As I said, the tavern is my greeds, hates, and delusions, my unskillful, unthought-out actions which cause suffering for myself and others. And the tavern for me is about my cravings, okay? So, we all know the human mind because we live in a human body. And for some crazy reason, we have this thing about not going straight ahead, realizing the truth that is right in front of us. We distract ourselves. We complicate what could be simple, and we sometimes exert an intense, misguided effort to chase after that which results in more suffering. Why do we do this? What we need to do can be right in front of us, but that's too simple, okay? And we have to compound and complex and make life into an arduous journey. Yes, life is not easy for any of us, but I think it's also true that we insist in making it more difficult. So let me read something from the Dhammapada here in the section about the mind. Read the Buddhist words here. The restless, agitated mind, hard to protect, hard to control, the sage makes straight, as a fletcher the staff of an arrow. Like a fish out of water, thrown on dry ground, the mind thrashes about, trying to escape Mara's command. The mind, hard to control, flighty, alighting where it wishes, one does well to tame. The disciplined mind brings happiness. The mind, hard to see, subtle, alighting where it wishes, the sage protects. The watched mind brings happiness. Okay, so that's some words of advice here from the Buddha. With our Buddhist practice, which I'm super grateful for, we have the Buddhist teachings, we have meditation, we have the precepts, and we have the good example of the Sangha, the people that we train with. Also, there are a lot of good examples coming from people, no matter what their religion is, or if they have no religion at all. Reverend Master Jiyu often said that the definition of religion is doing something about yourself. It's not some kind of highfalutin doctrine. It's doing something about yourself. And in Buddhism, through a meditation practice, we take time to stop and listen to our own heart. Ajahn Chah would say that if you have time to breathe, you have time to meditate. Reverend Master Jiyu said, if you take time to meditate, there will be enough time. If you don't take time to meditate, there will never be enough time. And I found that to be very true. And of course, the purpose of our meditations is to take it off our cushion. So we had our meditation Sunday today. Hopefully it was a peaceful experience for everyone. Meditation isn't always peaceful, and that's not a problem. But the purpose is to take what we get there out into our lives and practice it in our everyday lives. The precepts point us to being aware of our actions and their results, being conscious of our words and their consequences, and being aware of what we are thinking and the possible results of our thoughts. Because what we are thinking matters, and we can change what we are thinking. The wonderful thing I've seen about people is they can change. So just a bit more about the church in this proverb. So for me, it's about our moral responsibility. We are the owners of our karma, and we are someone that we can do something about. We can change our minds and our ways. And this is again for me, the tavern can stand for having a good karma-free time, a distraction from our troubled lives. The thing is, you can be morally responsible and have a good time. Moral responsibility, as talked about in the Precepts and the Eightfold Path, is what leads to true happiness. When I was young and feeling the pressure of growing up, sometimes I sought out something that would make me feel uninhibited, free from the usual social or psychological restraints in behavior. In retrospect, it's embarrassing, and also it was a recipe for disaster. With Buddhism, I found a better way. So restraint and refraining from those things that cause suffering. That really, made sense. And then you got to do the hard work of doing it. One who keeps the precepts and dwells in the mind in meditation is not repressed, but actually liberated. And as I've said earlier, Buddhism is a religion to practice in our everyday life. You live Buddhism. It's dynamic and adaptable. It's not like we have all the answers because we're Buddhists and we do everything right and everybody loves us. But we are well-grounded and anchored, and that's a good place to start from. The Buddha did not teach in a commanding sort of way, thou shalt. Buddhism is not a religion of thou shalt. Rather, you need to think for yourself. You save yourself, not a savior. And I find it really remarkable the way that the Buddha taught, because people would come to him, wanting to get the answer. I'm sure sometimes he gave them an answer, but more than that, he would pose questions. What happens when you act in this way? What are the results? Is this what you want? Is this the way you yourself would want to be treated? Those are all really valuable questions. So how do we unwind the knot of karmic habit? Because that's kind of what the church is again. It's this karmic habits. No, excuse me, church. I meant the tavern. Sorry about that. The church could be too. Buddhism gives us the tools of meditation and precepts. In our practice, we stop, even if it's just for a moment, and listen to something deeper than the mind. Master Jiyu had this bumper sticker on her car that I think she made it, and it said, "Don't just do something, sit there." Because the popular thing at that point in time was, don't just sit there, do something. Well, she turned it around because she felt that it's not always the best thing to plunge into activity. Reflection is good. So by studying the precepts, we begin to challenge the mind. Is this a good idea? Am I benefiting myself and others by what I'm doing and what I'm about to do? Those are good questions. Just because the mind comes up with it doesn't mean that it's the best thing. It's just the mind. It's a sense organ responding to the things that have come in from the other sense organs. And it may or may not be something we want to follow. So when I was a child, we would drive to church and pack in an awkward, crowded parking lot. It was actually the schoolyard that everybody would park in, and they were parking all over the place. It wasn't quick and easy to exit that parking lot. It was actually quite a maneuver. So after church services, it got a little tense in the parking lot. People got impatient, and they started honking their horns. And I was a little kid, and I'm thinking, this is confusing. Where did all the peace, patience, kindness, and compassion go that we were supposed to be cultivating in the church? Okay? There was a contradiction here. Maybe that is why some people choose to walk carefully to the tavern, because they find church is contradictory. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't find Buddhism contradictory. The Dalai Lama, who is very, he's a scientist, besides being the Dalai Lama. And he loves science, and he loves to talk to scientists. And he said that if there were some kind of point where science and Buddhism, didn't match, he said we need to change Buddhism. He didn't say we need to change science. I think that's interesting. So I think there's a better solution. As I say, with Buddhism, I found a religion I could live and practice. And if we bring our practice into the present moment, we're on the right path. And if it is icy, just let us walk carefully, whether near or far, with awareness, patience, kindness, and compassion. Thank you.